Hey, all. Today we are going to talk about the last type of segment that we haven't talked about and how it interacts with circles and the lengths that get created, and that is secant segments. You might notice that in this first picture we have a tangent segment. It only touches the circle once, that's what makes it tangent. But this right here is a secant segment. It intersects the circle twice and exists partially inside and partially outside of the circle. And so what happens when I have a secant segment is the circle sort of breaks that segment up into two pieces. I have one piece here, and I have one piece here. And I'm going to talk in reference to the circle. The greenish teal piece is outside of the circle. And the orange piece is inside. When I put them together, I get the whole segment. When I look at the tangent segment, there's only one piece. It's outside. We could say that the whole segment is outside. And so what we have when these segments intersect outside of the circle is we have this relationship that if you take the outside measure, I'm just going to call it out, of one segment and multiply by the whole length of that segment, it's going to be equal to the same thing on the other side. So I have my tangent segment. If I multiply its outside portion, which is 45, times the whole segment, which is also 45 because the whole thing is outside, that's going to be equal to this secant segment if I take the outside piece and multiply it by the whole thing. So the outside portion of my secant is 27. The whole piece is my outside plus my inside, 27 plus x. So when I have a secant, my whole is the outside plus inside. When I have a tangent, the outside is the same as the whole thing because it's all outside the circle. And so we've used a relationship to write an equation that we can solve to figure out how long that inside piece actually is. So I can do 45 times 45. And you could do some distributing here with the 27, but what I'm going to do is divide both sides by 27. And then subtract 27 from both sides. And find out that that missing piece inside the circle is 48. So this is the relationship that exists. We use that to write an equation, and then we solve the equation. So let's look at this next one. I have two secant segments now. They both go through the circle. So you might label outside, outside, inside, inside. The relationship is that the outside of one segment multiplied by the whole thing equals the outside multiplied by the whole thing. And I tend to start abbreviating things to O and W. The outside of this first one is 7. The whole segment is the inside plus the outside. The inside x plus the outside 7. This one here, the outside is 9. The whole thing is the inside plus the outside, 5 plus 9. So we can clean this up a little. 5 plus 9 is 14. I can do 9 times 14. You could distribute this 7 and into the parentheses, but what I'm going to do is divide both sides by 7. If you are getting stuck on any of this algebra and you need help, please do raise your hand before you get too far and get too lost. I'll subtract 7 from both sides, and I'll find out that the inside piece of this secant is 11 long. Which makes sense because it looks like it's the longest of the 4 pieces, and it's not so big that it looks like maybe it's the wrong answer. It's just a little bit bigger than this one, which is 9. 11 is just a little bit bigger than 9. Let me try one more. Here I have a tangent segment, so this is going to represent the outside portion of my segment. It's also going to represent the whole thing. This is a secant. 8 is the whole, or no, I'm sorry. 8 is not the whole piece. 8 is the outside piece. X is the inside piece. And it might be a good idea to establish how long is the whole thing. The whole thing is the inside plus the outside, x plus 8. So I'm going to use O and W when I write this. So the outside of my tangent is 12, and it's also the whole length. So there's going to be two 12s. The outside piece of my secant is 8, and the whole thing we said is x plus 8. I can do 12 times 12. I could distribute, but I'm going to save myself that headache. I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And then I'll subtract 8 to find out that this inside piece is 10. So what I want you to do is pause, try the next one on your own, then press play. If you're stuck and you need some help with any of the problems I just went over, ask me for help first so that you have a better opportunity to get this one correct. So hopefully you got 7. Again, just like the last problem, our tangent was 12 long, so that represents the outside and the whole length because the whole thing is outside the circle. And our secant, our outside was 9, our inside is x, and to get the whole length, we add inside plus outside to get x plus 9. If you struggled a little bit, again, with the algebra, ask me for help, please, before you get too far, so we can sort out maybe any misconceptions you might have. The best way to get better at these, as always, is to do practice and to ask for help as soon as you need it. Don't wait too long. As soon as you get confused, ask me for some help. Stick around and answer these 4 problems. And again, then move on to some practice, always asking for help when you need it. Good luck.